Hi, my name is Diana and I'm from Deviera Creations. Welcome to my channel. Today I have another new video for you from So Fine in Winona, and it's called the Henrietta Hotmitt. Check this out. Isn't it adorable? It is such a good size. It is a fun make, and the wings are actual pockets. You slip your finger in, put the thumb on the other side, and you can grab your hot handles for the oven, stove, whatever you have. We have the beak, we have the comb, inside the tail. It is a very nice size. It is absolutely a fun make. I really enjoyed making these. I also have another one. Isn't she cute? Absolutely adorable. And like I said, they do fit the oven handle, so you can put them facing each other, or you can have one, you can have two. But in this video, I show you how to make this one. So I will link all of So Fine in Winona's information below. You can grab her pattern on Etsy. And if you have any questions, please list it below, and I will do my best to answer you as soon as possible. So let's get started. Let's go over all the pattern pieces. We have the outer portion, which is cut mirrored, which means both of your fabrics are wrong sides touching, and then you just cut two. All right, so they go in opposite directions when you're done cutting. And with mine, I used cotton batting. So instead of buying a fabric that was already quilted, I put cotton batting on the back and cut my batting a little bigger, quilted it, and then cut the shape out. So we have two pieces that are mirrored. Next thing we need is the underbelly, and you only need one, which you cut on the fold. So this basically you cut in half. It's folded in half, and you only need one piece of this. When you open it, this is what it looks like. And you'll need one Insul Bright, which is also cut on the fold, and when you're done, this is what it looks like. Then you will need your wing, which I also quilted and mirrored. So you have two pieces going in the opposite direction, and you're going to need two solid that are not quilted. Okay, so basically 4 fabrics and 2 that are quilted. Then you need the comb, which is 2. Again, I cut mirrored, not quilted. And 1 beak, not quilted. And that's it. Let's get started. Okay, for this project, I'm going to use my industrial machine. I have a Juki DDL 8700, which I can sew regular cotton fabric or faux leather, thicker fabrics. So instead of using my industrial, instead of using my domestic, I decided to use my industrial. But you can use a domestic machine for this. Just be mindful when we get to the thicker areas of the pattern. All right, so you will need one of your wings that's quilted and 1 solid. And what we're going to do is we're going to do right sides together. And we're going to clip that together in place. I like to use clips versus pins, but you can use pins if you'd like. And this is 1 wing per side of the chicken. So again, right sides together. And we're gonna clip these in place. Be mindful of all your markings and your darts. They are throughout the pattern, so make sure you do your markings on your fabric as well, so you can match them all together when you put them together. Okay, I'm going to stitch all around. Look at the pattern instructions for the seam allowances, but I'm going to stitch all the way around except for up here. I'm going to leave an opening so that I can turn it. So I'm going to do this for both. So I'm going to start stitching here. I'm going to go all the way around and stop here. Bring you a little closer. Move this wire out the way. I like to hold on to my thread. Holding on to your thread does help your project back here. If you don't hold on to it, you tend to get a nest egg, which means a bunch of thread caught in the back. It looks like, you know, a mess. It basically looks like a mess in the back. But I like to hold on to my thread, and then I let it go after like a stitch or two. And I'm going to back stitch beginning and end. It would help if my machine was on. Sometimes when you go around curves, if you hold your fabric close to your presser foot, like right here and really tight here, you're able to maneuver your fabric and it'll turn without any problems. You can also stop, lift your presser foot, and turn the project as you're sewing. Now as I'm going around the curves, I'm lifting my foot and I'm going very slowly around the curves, making sure to maintain that same seam allowance throughout the whole pattern. Lifting my presser foot slowly, going around the curves. And this is where I will reverse, backstitch, and that's it. And this is what it'll look like. I'm going to repeat with the other one, and then I will show you how I'm clipping this. So by holding onto the thread, I get a nice finish there when I backstitch. Okay, now at this stage, what you want to do is, I like to use my whiskers. I have these serrated. This is what I like to use. If you don't have a pair of these, grab your regular scissors, and you want to clip around the curves. So these are the curves right there. These scissors aren't that great, but clip here, here, wherever there's a circle, your rounded edges, so that it'll turn easily. So again, I'm going to use these, and I'm going to get as close as I can without touching it. At least half of the seam allowance I'm cutting off. All right, and when you get here, be careful how close you get to that. So I just come in at an angle, and then I go around. These are called pinking shears, in case you're interested in picking some up. Amazon has them. I've had these for a very long time, and I absolutely love them. This is a Fiskars brand. Makes life easier. There we go. I will repeat with the second piece. Okay, there we go. Now, just clear the deck here. We're going to turn this inside out. Sometimes I like to just fold this back and just press it. Sorry, I'm not in. And just press it. It's just the opening. Now we're going to turn it inside out. I go to the farthest end and just push through with my thumb. Now if you can use a pen. I like to use, if you use a pen, you can use the back end, but I would use this side as long as I know it's the pen piece is inside. You can go in and go around your curves. You can do this with a pencil eraser if you don't have one, if you don't have a pen, or if you don't feel safe. I have a turning tool. This is a metal one. It's like a chopstick. A metal chopstick. And I like to go around the edges. Make sure you point those. See how it does a really nice job with the edges. And you'll be surprised. Just look around your house for tools that can help you. You don't have to go out and buy the latest and the greatest of everything. I used to do cakes, and I use a lot of my cake tools for sewing as well when I used to make flowers. Okay. Now there's my opening. So I am going to clip that in place. And I'm going to stitch the top edge. And stitch it closed from there to there. And when I do a top stitching, which is what it's called when you're stitching on the outside of the fabric, I like to use a longer stitch length. So apologize if my hand is in the way. See if I can give you a better angle when I do the next one. And that's what it'll look like. All right, let me see if I can bring you closer. Right here. Hopefully the camera doesn't shake too much. And there it is. Okay. For this next step, you will need your 2 exterior pieces, your quilted outer panels, and both of your wings. Okay, note that the quilted part is on the outside. So you have the tail end of your wing, and you're going to place it on top. Sorry. This is the tail. If you hear any noises, I have 2 dogs, puppies. So you might hear noise in the background, so I apologize about that. This is what it's going to look like. Now you can pin it in place. I like to use hair clips. I don't use them for my hair. I use them for my projects. These are great. You can buy, I think they come in 50 in a pack. So you can go on Amazon or go to your beauty supply place and they will carry it. Again, here's the tail, here's the wing, here's the point, and we're just going to place it on there. Center it as best as you can. I eyeball it. As long as the top is straight, that's all I care about. That's what matters. Let me just make sure. That's good enough. Yeah. If you want to be precise, you can just measure here and here, so that I tend to be a perfectionist when it comes to these things, and I have to let that go. Okay, so we're going to stitch here, and we're going to go all the way around. We're going to top stitch, and we're going to back stitch a beginning and end. Top stitch means you can use a longer stitch, especially when you're using a domestic. I highly recommend to use a longer stitch. Longer stitches are excellent when you're using bulk fabric, so they don't gather up. You don't have a lot of issues with your sewing machine. So I'm going to bring you closer. Again, make sure your point is facing the tail. My top stitching, I'm using a number 4 stitch length. When I do bags, I usually use 5, but since I'm using quilting cotton fabric, I'm just using a number 4 stitch length. I'm going to back stitch beginning and end. And because this is a curved edge, be careful. I'm going to hand crank this area. only because I'm working so close to the edge and there's a lot of sharp corners. Again, I'm putting pressure here, and this way it'll turn easily for me. I don't do them in the little sharp curves over here because I get nervous. Okay, we're getting close to the end, and we're going to back stitch here, and that's it. So this is how the back looks. And this is the front. And there is my pocket. Isn't that adorable? So let me bring you over. And now we have the wing. Onto the exterior pieces. In this step, you will need your comb and your beak. With the comb, we will put right sides together. And you see I have my notches going out. I tend to do that with cotton fabric. And the beak we will handle in a minute. I have it upside down. This is your curved edge. We're going to stitch here, and we're not going to stitch the curved edge. Again, we're going to stitch around the humps. Don't forget to back stitch your beginning and end. This will help you from tearing your fabric when you're flipping it over. Again, I'm going slowly around the curves. Get rid of my clips. Feel free to use pins. You do what works for you. I'm okay without using anything. I'm not worried about whether they're exactly matching as long as the stitches catch. Please look at the pattern for the stitch. For your, I can't think, I'm sorry. For your seam allowance. Don't go by what you see on my screen. Okay? Okay. I clip there. Okay. If you don't have pinking shears, make sure you clip around here, and here helps as well. Okay? I'm going to use my pinking shears. going to flip it inside out. Now in the pattern, on the pattern piece, she has markings on where the fold or where you're going to pleat your project. Also feel free to use your iron to press everything nicely. I'm just going to finger press everything. Make sure I get my little curve here. Okay. So as I was saying, in the pattern piece, she has sections marked off on where to pleat. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to I'm going to pleat it this way. Okay. So there's 2 markings that she has on there. I'm going to pleat them this way. Right? So when it goes up, it's like this. Yeah. I'm going to put a clip there. We're not stitching this. Not now. I'm going to do that. But before I make that permanent, I'm going to check this with my fabric, with my exterior fabric. But for now, I'm just going to clip that in place. Moving on to the beak. We're going to fold the beak wrong sides together. Now, I do it this way. Fold it in half. I'd like the notch to be closer to here, to the edge. Okay, to my middle. So that's about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to fold it in half, finger press, fold it in half again. That's your 4th. And fold it one more time. Okay. I personally like to have the beak facing down, like that, the opening on the bottom. I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to pull out one of my exterior pieces. Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to see which one I want to put it on. I'm a little picky. I like to have my pleats going back. So if I put it here, it's going to be going forward. So I'm going to use this piece. Here's my head. Now you want the notches to match. So you're going to fold it upside down, place it upside down, have your notches match. Let me turn it upside down. I have one notch there. If you want to pleat it when you have it on here and it's easier for you, go right ahead. So I'm going to pleat it where they meet, where I have a nice flushed edge. And there it is. I have a notch there, and that's my pleat. I'm going to put a clip there, and I'm going to grab another clip, put it in the center, right where my fabric fold is, and grab one more and put it there. All right. Now my beak. Here's the beak. This is the bottom. That's where I want my beak to be facing, my opening to be facing down. It doesn't matter. You do you, but make sure the notches match. I'm going to put the opening on the bottom, and I'm going to clip it in place. Once everything is clipped, we're going to stitch here. Let me hold this up. We're going to stitch here, all the way down and around, and here to there. Okay, back stitch beginning and end. In the pattern, she's going to tell you what stitch seam allowance to use. You can top stitch if you want. This is just to hold it in place. Again, I'm going to use a number 4. This is just to hold it in place until we put everything together. All right. I'm going to remove my top clip. And you're only going to do this to one side of the pattern of the exterior. Bring you closer. Around the curve, pivot a little, go very slowly around the edge. I'm going to back stitch there. Make sure that's on there. Go around the curve. Lift up my presser foot because I'm getting close. Lift it up again. Back stitch there. And back stitch there. And there we are. Again, this is just to keep it in place until we put everything together. There we go. Okay, move you back here. We're going to grab our 2 exterior pieces. And on your main pattern piece, which is this piece here, on the pattern piece, she has markings on where to start and stop stitching. Transfer your markings to your fabric. I have one here and I have one here. Match your notches. Clip everything in place. I do my notches first. I'm going to start and stop at my marking. I'm going to start here, back stitch, same here, using a regular seam allowance. So just keep in mind these, it's starting to get a little bulky, especially over here. So when you get over here, if you feel like you're struggling, once you get over here, if you feel like you're struggling a little bit on your domestic, just increase your stitch length by just a tiny bit, okay? And you should get through no problem. But a regular domestic should get through this okay. All right, so we're going to start and stop at our markings. Sorry, I had to pick up my flying clip. Again, take it easy. I'm going to be hitting a lot of curves here. Back stitch beginning and end. This is going to be so cute when it's done. Down, pivot. You can hear my dog is whining. That is typical of German Shepherds. I'm surprised she hasn't been whining throughout the whole video. When you stop, make sure your needle is down. Do what I say, not what I'm doing. There we go. Now my needle is down, okay? Now I'm going through the comb. And the beak. And I'm going to stop at my marking. And that's it. And this part is done. Hi, honey. I'll take you back. So again, start and stop at our markings. Make sure you transfer them onto your fabric. All right, I would show you again, clip your curves. I like to use my pinking shears, so I'm going to do that now. And that's my finished piece. Okay. Get rid of this mess. I'll move on to the next piece. We are now moving on to the underbelly. So you want your exterior fabric and you want your Insel Bright. I don't know which side goes to what, so I have the shiny piece on the outside. Make sure you match all your notches. I'm going to clip everything in place, or you can pin it because I'm sure it will shift. Again, I clip around my notches first. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch the Insel Bright to the exterior fabric. All right. Apologize for the dog noise. I'm going to backstitch beginning and end. Please check the pattern piece for your seam allowance. And you can either stitch or top stitch here. Okay. So I'm just pushing it out. It's okay if it's not exact, like if the fabric is, you know, a little off compared to the Insel Bright. Here, I'm just going to stitch down. Actually, you really should stitch here. Let me go back. Let me go in, just to keep that in place. Have a little tiny bulk there, but I'm not going to worry about it because you're not going to see that once you're done. there it is. Our exterior piece attached to our Insulbrite. Again, I'm not going to worry about this here, and you'll see why, because all that gets hidden. Now let's pull out the exterior piece. Here's our exterior. What we're going to do is we're going to match the notches with underbelly with your exterior, right sides together, okay? Match your notches first. I'm going to stitch this way. Get my notches together. Oops, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Make sure your exterior pieces are touching. And when you clip this, make sure that you have one going on this direction, the other one on this direction. You are not pinning the head or the tail in place, okay? So when it's flat, this is what you'll see, and this is what you'll see. There we go. I'm going to stitch from this side. Push your tail back, push your head back. We are going to stop and start right there at the edge. Sorry. We're going to start and stop right there at the fold. That is why you needed to stitch up to your marking. All right, now I'm going to get this piece out the way, and I'm going to start right there. Feel free to increase your stitch length if you are having issues with your domestic. Now I'm feeling for where the fold is. I don't want to catch this piece here. Okay. So let's get stitching. I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to start and back stitch here, and I'm going to stop here. Go slow around your curves. I'm coming to the end. I'm going to feel where it is. It's right here. Back stitch. Okay. And this is where we clip off our threads. Now, we're flipping the head and the tail. This part is done. Lift this up, flip the head and the tail to the other direction, and we're going to start where we left off. Okay. Which should line up underneath your last stitching. Just get the thread through there. There we go. Put my needle down where I ended. And I'm going to backstitch beginning and end. I keep grabbing different things, but like I said, whatever works. These are my snips. We're almost done. Leave an opening down here. I'm going to backstitch here. Allow yourself enough room to open and close, well, to flip it inside out. So when you do the second side, make sure you leave yourself plenty of room. I say 3 to 4 inches would be great. Nothing less than 3, because you are flipping bulk fabric. So now that I stopped there, I'm going to pick up here and finish there. I'm going to start about here. Backstitch beginning and end. Again, leave yourself plenty of room to flip this inside out. That's where I started and I ended the last time. So I want to come around and finish there. And I'm just meeting. Notice I'm not going in this way and back. I'm going slow, back stitch. Okay. Okay. You can, I should have left myself a bigger opening. Now we're going to flip it inside out. So let's see. I left myself 1, 2, 3. Yeah. I say 4 inches. So here to here. Okay. We can do this though. This is called birthing, and I've birthed bags before. So this should be okay. Let me bring you a little further out. Oh, not bad. Actually, 3 inches did work. Beautifully. Plenty of room. And this is where you're going to need to make sure you have one pocket on one side and one on the other. I'm going to need my stiletto, because you have to poke out your tails, all your curves, your head. I stick my thumb in there, and I have my index finger on the other side of the thumb, and I push through. Okay, and there's the comb. There's the beak. Running my stiletto right at the stitch, the edge of the stitches, poking them out, running it through on this side. Pull out the tail. If you don't have this, you can get a wooden chopstick, works fantastic too. Just make sure it's a thicker one. Poke out that tail. I go in, I poke it out from this side and from this side of the stitching. I want to make sure I get it all over. That's why I clipped it with the pinking shears, because I want to make sure I can get every piece out and not have that bulk in the way. Here it is. He's looking so cute. Hello. All right, I'm going to move on to the other side. Make sure I push everything through. Get all my corners. And now this side. We'll clip that in a second. Let me just grab a lighter. There we go. All right. He's looking adorable. Okay. We're going to tuck that in. We're going to tuck this in and clip everything together so that we can stitch it closed. I'm going to use a needle and thread. You can feel free to use a machine if you want. Top stitch at 1/8 of an inch on your sewing machine on the bottom, going all the way across. But for this, I really want to hand stitch everything closed. Oop. So before I hand stitch that, I want to make sure it looks good. And there is my chicken. Comb the beak. See how it's open on the bottom? It doesn't matter which way you have it. I like to have mine open on the bottom. And he stands like this when he's done. Okay, I'm going to use a ladder stitch. Again, like I said, you can stop stitch on your machine. Make sure that your stitch length is about 4 and stitch as close to the edge as you can, like 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. But I'm going to top stitch. I really don't want to see the top stitching on the bottom. So let me show you what a ladder stitch looks like. I will start with the needle, bringing the needle inside the fabric, coming up at the crease, and hiding my thread inside. Okay. Now, from here, we go to the other side, and we come up about 1/4 of an inch, or 1/16 of an inch, whatever works for you, 1/8. I am using a thicker thread. And pull. And then I come from this stitch, I come directly across from it, go down and up the same amount, about 1/4 of an inch. And I pull. Go directly across, come up, there we go, and pull. So your stitches are hidden. That is what you call a ladder stitch. So I'm going to go all the way up. And come back right across. And I'm going to knot it right here. So I'm going to go through both, tug on it, do one more. And then to hide my stitch, my thread, I go in, go about an inch or so out, and I pull so that I get like a gathering there. I clip it right there, and then when you stretch it out, you don't see where your stitch is. See? And this is what it looks like completed. Isn't that cute? That's so adorable. And there you are. Let me show you with my other ones.